The morning sun shone bright over Seoul Spaceport as 3 alien ships landed on the concrete landing pads. Hyunwoo Kim stood waiting with his team, watching the massive vessels settle down with clouds of steam rising around them. His heart beat fast, but he kept his face calm. This was the moment everyone on Earth had been waiting for. "Remember the briefing," So Young Park whispered beside him. She held her translation device tight in her hands. "Keep it formal. No personal comments, just business." Ji-ho Lee nodded from Hyunwoo's other side. The military man's uniform was perfect, his posture straight. "The aliens expect us to be cold and professional. That's how they do things in space." Hyunwoo adjusted his tie and watched the ship's doors open. Steam poured out, and then the aliens began to walk down the ramps. The first group was tall and made of what looked like living crystal. Their bodies caught the sunlight and threw it back in rainbow colors. The leader was nearly 8 feet tall with geometric patterns that shifted and changed as he moved. The second group looked like giant lizards walking on 2 legs. Their scales were dark green and brown, and their eyes were bright yellow. The biggest one had scars across his face and arms that looked like battle wounds. The third group made Hyunwoo's breath catch in his throat. They looked almost human, but their skin was a soft blue color that seemed to glow from inside. The leader was a woman with long silver hair that moved like water, and patterns of light danced under her skin. "Incredible," Hyunwoo whispered without thinking. So Young elbowed him gently. "Remember what we practiced." The alien groups walked forward in perfect lines. They stopped exactly 10 feet away from the human delegation. The crystal being stepped forward first. "I am Kexnil of the Vextai Empire. We come to speak with Earth's leaders about joining the Galactic Council." His voice sounded like wind chimes, musical but somehow cold. The lizard creature spoke next. "I am Torvash, military commander of the Morden Republic. We are here to see if humans can follow proper galactic law." His voice was deep and rough like rocks grinding together. The blue woman was last. When she spoke, her voice was like a gentle song. "I am Velira, ambassador of the Nixara Federation. We hope this meeting will be productive." Hyunwoo stepped forward. He had practiced his opening words 100 times, but when he looked at the 3 aliens standing before him, the formal speech left his mind completely. "Welcome to Earth," he said with a genuine smile. "I'm Hyunwoo Kim, and I have to say you're all absolutely beautiful." The aliens froze. So Young made a small choking sound. Ji-ho's eyes went wide. "The way the light moves through your crystal structure, Kexanil," Hyunwoo continued, unable to stop himself. "It's like watching a living rainbow. And Torvash, those scars tell stories of battles and honor. They make you look powerful and wise." Torvash's yellow eyes blinked slowly like he didn't understand what he was hearing. "And Velira," Hyunwoo said, looking at the Nixara woman. "The patterns under your skin are like watching stars dance. I've never seen anything so graceful." For a long moment, nobody moved or spoke. The aliens stared at Hyunwoo like he had just spoken in an unknown language. Velira's hand moved to touch her throat. The light patterns under her skin began to pulse faster, and something strange happened to her face. The corners of her mouth began to turn up. You think we are beautiful?" she asked, and her voice sounded different, softer. "Of course," Hyunwoo said, confused. "How could anyone not see it? Each of your species is amazing in its own way." So Young stepped forward quickly. "What my colleague means is that we respect and honor your diverse forms and—" "No," Hyunwoo interrupted gently. "I mean exactly what I said. You're beautiful, and I can't help but notice it." Kexanil's crystal body made a soft ringing sound like bells in the distance. "This is unusual. In galactic diplomatic protocol, physical appearance is never mentioned." "Why not?" Ji-ho asked, forgetting himself. "I mean, if something is beautiful, why wouldn't you say so?" Torvash tilted his massive head. "Because beauty is a distraction. It has no place in serious matters." "That seems sad," So Young said quietly. "Beauty makes life better, doesn't it?" Velira was still staring at Hyunwoo. The light patterns under her skin were moving faster now, and her face showed an expression none of them had ever seen on an alien before. She was smiling. "We should move to the conference room," Kexnil said, but his voice sounded less cold than before. As they walked toward the spaceport building, Hyunwoo noticed that Velira kept glancing at him. Her smile grew wider each time. "Is something wrong?" he asked her. "Wrong?" she repeated. "No, nothing is wrong. It's just..." No one has ever called me beautiful before. That's impossible, Hyunwoo said. You must have the most beautiful people in the galaxy in your species. Valera stopped walking. The other aliens stopped too, all staring at her. We don't talk about such things, she said slowly. Beauty is considered unimportant, frivolous. But you're glowing brighter now, So Young observed. And you're smiling. Doesn't that feel good? Valera touched her face where her smile was. Yes, she whispered. It does feel good. I had forgotten. Torvash was watching this exchange with his yellow eyes narrow. The humans are having an effect on you, Valera. This was not expected. No, she agreed, and her smile grew even wider. It was not expected at all. As they entered the building, Hyunwoo couldn't help but notice that all three aliens seemed different already. Kexnel's crystal body was ringing with soft, pleasant tones. Torvash walked with less stiffness, almost relaxed. And Valera couldn't seem to stop smiling. Your beauty distracts us, Hyunwoo admitted as they walked down the hallway. We can't help but notice and appreciate it. Is this going to be a problem for our negotiations? Instead of looking annoyed or offended, Valera's smile became so bright that the patterns under her skin pulsed with warm light. A problem? She said, and for the first time in centuries she laughed. No, Hyunwoo Kim of Earth. I don't think this will be a problem at all. Behind them, Kexenil and Torvash exchanged glances. Something was changing, something none of them had expected, and for the first time in their long lives as diplomats, they were curious to see what would happen next. The conference room was large and bright, with windows looking out over the city of Seoul. The human delegation sat on one side of a long table, while the alien sat on the other. But something felt different from normal diplomatic meetings. The atmosphere was warmer, less stiff. Min-ji Choi had joined them, carrying her research files and a small recording device. She was an expert on alien cultures, but she had never actually met aliens before. When she saw Valera's glowing skin and graceful movements, her eyes went wide with wonder. This is fascinating, Min-ji said, pulling out her notebook. The way you move, Valera, it's like a dance. Every gesture has such elegance, Valera looked surprised. You watch how I move? Of course, Min-ji replied. Movement tells us so much about a culture. Your people must value grace and beauty in everyday life. We used to, Valera said quietly. Long ago. Tae Hyun-yoon entered the room carrying trade documents and economic reports. He was supposed to focus on business, but when he saw the aliens, he couldn't help but stare in amazement. Incredible, he said, setting down his papers. Kexenil, your crystal formation is constantly changing. Does it reflect your thoughts? And Torvash, those patterns on your scales, they're like artwork. Torvash touched his arm where the scales formed complex designs. These are battle marks, scars, nothing more. But they're beautiful, Taehyun insisted. They tell the story of your life, your experiences. That makes them art, doesn't it? The big reptilian commander looked confused. I have never thought of them that way. A young Nixara woman entered through the alien side of the room. She was smaller than Valera, with shorter silver hair and brighter blue skin. The light patterns under her skin moved quickly, showing her nervousness. Ambassador Valera, she said in a musical voice. I am Zixara, your engineering aide. The ships are secured and ready for departure when you give the order. So Young smiled at the young alien. Hello, Zixara. Welcome to Earth. What do you think of our planet so far? Zixara glanced at Valera, uncertain. We are not supposed to have personal opinions about alien worlds. But you must have noticed something, Jiho said kindly. The colors, the smells, the way the light looks different from your home world? The light, Zixara said slowly. Yes, your star makes everything look golden. It's quite lovely. She looked shocked at her own words, as if she couldn't believe she had said them. Don't look so worried, Taehyun laughed. There's nothing wrong with noticing beautiful things. When Zixara heard his laugh, something magical happened. Her eyes lit up, and a sound came from her throat like silver bells ringing. She was laughing too. Your laugh is like music, Taehyun said with genuine pleasure. I could listen to it all day. Zixara's skin began to glow with a soft purple light, and she covered her face with her hands. You're making me blush, she whispered. Blush? Min-ji asked, fascinated. The purple glow is blushing. We're not supposed to blush, Valera said, but she was smiling as she watched her young aide. We're supposed to control our emotions. That sounds exhausting, So Young said. Don't you ever just want to feel happy or excited or amazed? Valera was quiet for a long moment. I had forgotten what those feelings were like, she admitted. Until today. The formal negotiations were supposed to begin, but nobody seemed interested in following the agenda. Instead, the humans kept asking questions about alien cultures, and the aliens found themselves actually wanting to answer. What's your homeworld like? Hyunwoo asked Kexnil, the crystal being made soft chiming sounds. It is efficient, organized, every citizen knows their role and performs it without question. But what does it look like? Minji pressed. Are there cities? Forests? Oceans? There are crystal formations that serve as living spaces, Kexnil said carefully. They are designed for maximum productivity. Are they beautiful? Taehyun asked. Kexnil went very still. For a long time he didn't answer. Then quietly he said, They used to be. My people once grew crystal gardens that sang in the wind. We made light sculptures that told stories. But such things were deemed unnecessary. That's terrible, So Young said with real sadness. Art and beauty aren't unnecessary. They're what make life worth living. You really believe that? Valera asked. Of course, Hyunwoo said. What's the point of being alive if you can't appreciate the amazing things around you? Torvash had been listening to all of this in silence. Finally, he spoke. On my world, warriors used to sing before battle. Songs of courage and honor, but such traditions were banned as inefficient. Do you remember any of the songs? Jiho asked. Torvash looked uncomfortable. It has been many years, just a little. Zixara asked softly. I would love to hear warrior songs. The big reptilian looked around the room. Everyone was watching him with curious, encouraging faces. Slowly, he began to hum a deep, rumbling melody. The sound filled the room like distant thunder, but it was beautiful. When he finished, everyone was quiet for a moment. That was magnificent, Minji whispered. Torvash's yellow eyes looked surprised. You enjoyed it? It gave me chills, Taehyun said. Good chills. The kind you get when you hear something truly powerful. I had forgotten how good it felt to sing, Torvash admitted. Valera was watching all of this with growing amazement. Look at us, she said quietly. We're talking about beauty, laughing, singing, blushing. Things we haven't done in centuries. Is that bad? So Young asked. I don't know, Valera said honestly, but it feels wonderful. As the afternoon went on, the formal meeting became more like a friendly gathering. The humans shared stories about Earth's art and music and natural wonders. The aliens found themselves talking about their own culture's forgotten traditions and lost beauties. Zixara told them about Nixara poetry that made light patterns dance. Kexnil described crystal formations that could hold and replay memories. Torvash spoke of Mordun sculpture gardens where warriors meditated. All of this sounds incredible, Hyunwoo said. Why did your people stop creating these things? Efficiency, Valera said, but she sounded sad. Beauty was considered a distraction from important work. Art was seen as wasteful. Joy was thought to make us weak. But you're all brilliant, Jiho pointed out. You travel between stars, you've built a galactic civilization. Surely you can make time for beauty, too. The council decided that progress required sacrifice, Kexnil said. Beauty was what we sacrificed. What a terrible price to pay, Minji said softly. When evening came, the aliens were supposed to return to their ships, but none of them seemed eager to leave. Tomorrow we'll continue our discussions, Hyunwoo said. But tonight, would you like to see some of our city? Maybe experience some Earth beauty? Valera's face lit up with excitement, then quickly became worried. We shouldn't. Such things are not part of diplomatic protocol. Your beauty distracts us, Hyunwoo said with a smile, repeating his words from earlier. But our beauty might distract you too. Is that so wrong? Valera looked at Zixara, who was practically glowing with anticipation. She looked at Kexnil, whose crystal body was humming with musical tones. She looked at Torvash, who was still humming his warrior song under his breath. No, she said, and her smile was brighter than any star. I don't think it's wrong at all. And for the first time in diplomatic history, an alien delegation chose to explore a planet not for strategic purposes, but simply to see its beauty. 3 days had passed since the aliens arrived and Seoul had become a different city. Wherever the delegation went, crowds gathered to watch and wonder. But it wasn't just humans who were amazed. The aliens themselves seemed to be changing hour by hour. Dayan Shin sat in her small office, reviewing the psychological reports she had been secretly conducting. As Earth's leading expert on interspecies mental health, she had been asked to observe the aliens and report on their emotional states. What she found shocked her. Incredible, she murmured, looking at her computer screen. In just 3 days, they're showing signs of cognitive revival that should take months of therapy. Wu Jinhan knocked on her door and entered, carrying his sketchbook. The artist had been following the delegation, drawing pictures of their daily activities. His usual realistic style had changed into something more vibrant and alive. "You need to see this," he said, showing her his latest drawing. It was a picture of Valera laughing at something Hyunwoo had said during lunch. Her face was full of joy, her skin glowing bright with happiness. "She looks so different from when they first arrived," Da-un observed. "They all do," Wu Jin agreed. "Watch this." He flipped through his sketchbook, showing the progression of drawings from day 1 to day 3. The first pictures showed the aliens as stiff, formal, emotionally blank. But each day's drawings showed more life, more expression, more genuine feeling. "It's like watching flowers bloom," Da-un said softly. A soft knock interrupted them. Valera stood in the doorway, looking uncertain. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," she said. "But Hyunwoo mentioned that you study minds and emotions. I was wondering if I could speak with you." Da-un gestured to a chair. "Of course. Please sit down." Valera sat gracefully, her silver hair flowing around her shoulders. The light patterns under her skin were moving slowly, showing deep thought. "Something is happening to me," she began. "To all of us. We're feeling things we haven't felt in centuries." Zixara laughed so hard yesterday that she started crying. "Happy tears," she called them. "I didn't even know such things existed." "How does that make you feel?" Da-un asked gently. "Alive," Valera whispered. "For the first time in 300 years, I feel truly alive. But I'm frightened too. What if this is wrong? What if we're becoming weak?" Wu Jin looked up from his sketching. "May I ask you something? What was your life like before you came here?" Valera was quiet for a long moment. "Empty," she said finally. "I performed my duties, attended meetings, filed reports. I spoke when required and stayed silent when appropriate. I ate when scheduled and slept when assigned. But I didn't feel anything. And now?" Taeyeon prompted. "Now I notice how beautiful the sunset looks over your city. I enjoy the taste of your food. I look forward to seeing Hyunwoo's smile. I feel excited about tomorrow." She paused. "Is this what you call living?" "Yes," Da-un said with a gentle smile. "This is what we call living. But my people say that emotions make us weak. That beauty distracts from important work. That feelings lead to poor decisions." Wu Jin set down his pencil. "Do you feel weak right now?" Valera considered this. "No, actually I feel stronger than I have in years. More creative, more curious, more energetic." At that moment, Zixara appeared in the doorway. The young Nixara's skin was bright with excitement. "Ambassador, come quickly. Kexnil is doing something amazing." They followed Zixara to the hotel's garden, where a crowd had gathered. In the center, Kexnil stood with his crystal arms raised toward the sky. Musical tones were flowing from his body, and the light passing through him was creating rainbow patterns on the ground around him. "He's making a crystal symphony," Zixara whispered in wonder. "I thought such arts were lost forever." Torvash stood nearby, his battle-scarred face showing an expression of deep concentration. As Kexnil's music played, the big warrior began to sing. His voice joined the crystal tones in a harmony that made everyone who heard it feel something profound and moving. "How long has it been since any of you created art?" Da-un asked. "Centuries," Valera said, tears beginning to glow on her cheeks. "For all of us." An elderly Vextai appeared at the edge of the garden. She was smaller than Kexnil, her crystal body showing the wisdom patterns of great age. She had been watching from the alien ships, but now she approached the group. "I am Ixina," she said, her voice like distant wind chimes. "I have been observing your interactions with the humans." Kexnil stopped his music and turned toward her, looking worried. "Elder Ixina, I was not creating art for frivolous purposes. I was merely testing sonic frequencies for peace, young one," Ixina said gently. "I did not come to scold you. I came to tell you that what you just created was the most beautiful crystal song I have heard in 400 years. Everyone stared at her in shock. "You see," Ixina continued, "I am old enough to remember the time before the Great Suppression. I remember when our people sang with light and crystal, when beauty was considered a gift to be shared, not a weakness to be hidden." "What happened?" So Young asked. She had been listening from the crowd with the rest of the human delegation. Fear, Ixina said simply. We became afraid that other species would see us as weak if we showed emotion. We worried that beauty would distract us from progress. So we locked away our hearts and focused only on efficiency and logic. But you survived, Minji pointed out. You built starships and joined the galactic community. Survived, yes, Ixina agreed sadly. But we stopped truly living. Look at our birth rates. Look at our innovation statistics. Look at our happiness indexes. We have been slowly dying as a people. Torvash spoke up, his deep voice thoughtful. The same thing happened to my people. We used to be poets as well as warriors. Now we are just efficient soldiers. And my people once danced among the stars, Valera added. We created living art with our bioluminescence. But we abandoned such things to appear serious and professional. Wu Jin had been sketching throughout this conversation. Now he showed them his latest drawing. It depicted all three alien species as they were now. Kexanil creating music, Torvash singing, Valera glowing with happiness. But behind them, like ghosts, were shadows of what they used to be. This is what you've lost, he said softly. But it's not gone forever. It's still inside you, waiting to come out again. Daun pulled out her tablet and showed them her psychological reports. In 3 days, you've shown more emotional growth and mental health improvement than most beings show in years of therapy. Your creativity levels have increased by over 300%. Your stress hormones have dropped to the healthiest levels I've ever recorded. You're not becoming weak, Hyunwoo said, joining the group. You're becoming whole again. Ixina looked around at the assembled beings, alien and human alike. The humans have given us a gift, she said. They have reminded us what we sacrificed in the name of progress. They have shown us that beauty and efficiency can exist together, that emotion and logic can strengthen each other. But what do we do now? Zixara asked. How do we go back to our old lives after experiencing this? Maybe you don't have to, Jiho suggested. Maybe it's time for a change. Valera looked at her companions, then at the humans who had changed their lives so dramatically. The Galactic Council will not approve of what has happened here. They will see our behavior as contamination, as weakness. Then maybe it's time the Galactic Council learned what they've been missing, Taehyun said with a smile. That evening, as the aliens returned to their ships to rest, Valera lingered behind with Hyunwoo. Your beauty distracts us, she said, repeating his words from that first day. But now I understand distraction isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes being distracted from the wrong path is exactly what you need to find the right one. Hyunwoo smiled. And your beauty has taught us something too. It's shown us that there are kinds of beauty in the universe we never imagined. Beauty that comes from inside, from the courage to feel and create and live fully. As the stars came out over Seoul, both human and alien looked up at the vast galaxy above them, wondering what tomorrow would bring. The morning of the 4th day brought storm clouds over Seoul, both in the sky and in the alien ships. Valera stood in her quarters, staring at the communication screen that had been blinking with urgent messages since dawn. Ambassador Valera, the stern face of High Council member Nextar, appeared on the screen. Your reports from Earth have been concerning. You speak of human customs and cultural exchanges rather than strategic weaknesses and resource assessments. Valera's skin patterns pulsed with nervous energy. The humans are remarkable, Council member. Their approach to diplomacy is unlike anything we've encountered. They treat us as equals, as friends rather than just political entities. Friends? Nextar's blue face showed disgust. Diplomacy is not about friendship, Ambassador. It is about advantage and control. Your emotional language suggests you have been compromised. I have not been compromised, Valera said, though even as she spoke, she wondered if that was true. I have been enlightened. You will return to the homeworld immediately for psychological evaluation and rehabilitation. The Council has lost confidence in your objectivity. The screen went dark, leaving Valera alone with her racing thoughts. Across the ship complex, Kexnil faced similar judgment from his crystal superiors. The geometric patterns of the Vextai Council leader filled his communication chamber. Kexnil, your recent transmissions speak of art and music and beauty. These concepts have no place in scientific assessment. Have you forgotten your purpose? I have remembered my purpose, Kexnil replied, his voice creating harmonious tones despite his worry. We came to evaluate human potential for galactic membership. They have shown abilities we never expected. They have infected you with inefficiency. You will cease all contact with the humans immediately and prepare for departure. In the Morden ship, Torvash stood at attention before a holographic image of High Commander Korvac, whose scales were darker and more scarred than any warrior Torvash had ever seen. Commander Torvash, your reports read like poetry rather than military intelligence. You speak of human laughter and kindness as if these were tactical advantages. With respect, sir, they are tactical advantages, Torvash said carefully. The humans' ability to inspire loyalty and cooperation could make them powerful allies, or dangerous enemies if they turn our own people soft with their emotional manipulations. You have been compromised, Commander. Return home immediately. Sung Ho Kang burst into the human delegation's morning briefing, his face pale with urgency. We've intercepted communications from all 3 alien fleets, he announced. They're being ordered to leave immediately. And there's more. Enforcement ships are on their way. Hee-Jin Moon looked up from her diplomatic notes. Enforcement ships? Galactic Council peacekeepers, Sung Ho explained. Armed vessels designed to handle contaminated diplomatic missions. They'll arrive in 2 days. Hyunwoo felt his heart sink. They're going to take our friends away. It's worse than that, Jiho said grimly. From what we can understand of their communications, the aliens are being recalled for rehabilitation. That sounds like punishment for the crime of becoming human-like. At that moment, Torvash entered the room. The big warrior looked troubled, his usual confident bearing replaced by uncertainty. I need to speak with you, he said quietly. All of you. They gathered in the secure conference room where Torvash began to pace like a caged animal. I have been filing false reports to my superiors, he admitted. For 3 days I have been lying to the Mordun High Command. Everyone stared at him in shock. I told them that humans are dangerous because of your military capabilities, he continued. I told them you use psychological warfare and emotional manipulation as weapons. I made you sound like a threat to galactic security. Why would you do that? Soyoung asked, confused. Torvash stopped pacing and looked directly at her. Because I saw what your kindness did to Valera. I saw what your appreciation for beauty did to Kexenel. I saw what your acceptance did to Zixara. And I knew that if my superiors understood the real power you possess, the power to make people remember how to live, they would see you as the greatest threat the galaxy has ever known. But we're not a threat, Minji protested, aren't you? Torvash asked sadly. You've undone 3 centuries of careful emotional conditioning in 3 days. You've made us question everything our societies have taught us about efficiency and control. You've reminded us of what we gave up to join the galactic community. Valera and Zixara entered the room together, both looking distressed. Behind them came Kexnil, his crystal body dim with worry. We've all received recall orders, Valera announced. We're to leave immediately and submit to psychological rehabilitation. What does that mean? Wu Jin asked. Memory adjustment, Kexnil explained, his musical voice flat and lifeless. They will remove our experiences here, suppress our emotional responses, and return us to our previous state of efficient emptiness. Zixara was glowing purple with distress. I don't want to forget how it feels to laugh, she whispered. I don't want to forget the beauty of your sunsets or the kindness in your voices. Then don't go, Taehyun said simply. It's not that simple, Valera replied. If we don't return voluntarily, enforcement ships will come to collect us. And they won't be gentle. How long do we have? Hyunwoo asked. 2 days, Torvash answered. The enforcement fleet includes 3 battlecruisers and a full regiment of council peacekeepers. They have orders to retrieve us by any means necessary. Hei-Jin was thinking hard, her diplomatic mind working through possibilities. What if we made this public? What if the galaxy could see what's happening here? The council controls galactic communications, Kexnil pointed out. They would never allow such information to spread. They control their communications, Jiho said with a grin. But they don't control ours. Sung Ho nodded enthusiastically. Earth's communication networks are completely independent. We could broadcast everything, the whole story of what's happened here. But who would listen? Valera asked. And who would care? You'd be surprised, Daun said, entering the room with her research tablet. I've been analyzing galactic mental health statistics. Depression rates across most member species are over 80%. Suicide rates are climbing. Birth rates are falling. Your entire galactic civilization is slowly dying from emotional starvation. She showed them her charts and graphs. Every species in the Galactic Council has given up some part of their cultural identity, their emotional expression, their artistic traditions to fit in. They're all as empty as you were when you arrived. So they're all ready for change, Minji said excitedly. They just need to see that change is possible. Ixina, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped forward. There is something else you should know, she said. I'm not just any elder. I am Ixina, the chronicler, keeper of our people's pre-suppression history. And I'm not the only old one who remembers better times. What do you mean? Yunwu asked. There are elders among all the council species who remember what their people were like before the Great Suppression. We have been waiting for generations for someone to remind our children of what they lost. You humans have done in 3 days what we could not do in 3 centuries. Torvash's expression had been growing more determined as they talked. If we're going to act, we need to act fast. The enforcement fleet will be here soon, and once they arrive, we'll lose any chance we have. What are you suggesting? Valera asked. I'm suggesting we give the galaxy something they've never seen before, the warrior said with a fierce grin. The truth. That evening, as the stars came out over Sol, the human and alien delegations worked together on a plan that would either change galactic civilization forever or get them all branded as dangerous rebels. Your beauty distracts us, Hyunwoo said to Valera as they prepared for what might be their last night together. But maybe it's time for the galaxy to be distracted from the path it's been following. Valera's skin glowed with determination. Then let's give them the most beautiful distraction they've ever seen. The enforcement fleet was coming, but they would not find the same aliens who had left their home worlds a week ago. They would find beings who had remembered how to live and who were ready to fight for that right. The enforcement fleet arrived exactly when predicted, 3 massive battle cruisers dropping out of hyperspace above Earth. But they found something no one had expected. Sol Spaceport was surrounded by thousands of ships from across the galaxy. Genesio stood in the broadcast center, coordinating the most ambitious communications project in human history. For 2 days, Earth's networks had been sending out everything. Every moment of joy, every laugh shared between species, every tear of rediscovered beauty. We're getting responses from over 40 worlds, she announced to the room. The broadcasts are spreading faster than the council can shut them down. Kyungmin An sat nearby, writing the philosophical framework that would become known as the Terra Protocols. People are hungry for this, he said, watching the flood of incoming messages. They've been waiting their whole lives to see what we've shown them. Outside, the sky was filled with ships. Not warships, but civilian transports, cargo haulers, passenger vessels, even tiny personal craft. Beings from dozens of species had abandoned their posts, their duties, their carefully ordered lives to come to Earth. Valera stood on the spaceport observation deck, watching the incredible sight above them. Her skin glowed brighter than it ever had, patterns of light dancing under her blue surface like galaxies being born. Look what you've done, she said to Yunwoo, who stood beside her. Look what your simple appreciation for beauty has created. We did this together, he replied, taking her hand. All of us. Below them, the spaceport had become a festival unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Fextite crystal formations sang in harmony, while Morden warriors danced to rhythms they had forgotten for centuries. Nixara artists painted with light while dozens of other species shared their own rediscovered arts. But the celebration was interrupted by the arrival of the Council Enforcer Unit 7, robotic peacekeepers that descended from the battlecruisers like metallic angels of death. All unauthorized vessels will disperse immediately, their synthetic voices announced across the spaceport. Cultural contamination protocols are in effect. Compliance is mandatory. The crowd of beings, human and alien alike, stood their ground. Ixina stepped forward, her ancient crystal body catching the light like a prism. I am Ixina the Chronicler, eldest of the Vextai. I claim the right of historical challenge, the robots paused. This was an ancient law, older than the Galactic Council itself. State your challenge, Elder, one of them replied. I challenge the Council's authority to suppress the natural cultural expressions of member species. I claim that the Great Suppression was not a choice made for efficiency, but a crime committed against the souls of our peoples. A hush fell over the gathering. Historical challenges could only be made by the oldest members of each species, and they required the Council to justify their actions before the entire galaxy. From the Mordun ships came Grektar, the Memory Keeper, older even than Torvash's grandfather. From the Nixara vessels emerged Luxana the Star Whisperer, her skin showing the deep patterns that marked 5 centuries of life. One by one, the elders of dozens of species stepped forward. Each one had been secretly aboard the civilian ships, waiting for this moment. We, the keepers of memory, challenge the authority of the current Galactic Council, they said in unison, their voices carrying across the spaceport and out to every ship in orbit. On the battlecruisers above, council members appeared on communication screens, their faces showing shock and anger. "This is rebellion," announced Council Leader Vexmore. "You will all be arrested and rehabilitated." "Then arrest us all," called out a voice from the crowd. It was Zixara, standing tall despite her youth, her skin blazing with defiant light. Around her, thousands of beings from across the galaxy stood together. "Arrest every being who has remembered how to laugh," she continued. "Arrest every artist who has created something beautiful. Arrest every person who has chosen to live instead of merely exist." The crowd cheered, a sound that mixed dozens of different species into something magnificent. Dayun had been monitoring the galactic communication networks. "The Council is losing control," she announced. "Civilian uprisings are starting on 17 worlds. People are demanding answers about why their cultures were suppressed." Jine's broadcasts had reached beyond what anyone had imagined. On distant worlds, beings were remembering their own lost traditions. They were asking questions their governments couldn't answer. High Commander Korvek appeared on the communication screens, his scarred face showing confusion and anger. "Commander Torvash, you will surrender yourself immediately for court-martial." Torvash stepped forward, but instead of surrender, he began to sing. It was the ancient war song he had shared days ago, but now his voice was joined by hundreds of other Morden who had come to Earth. The song of courage and honor filled the air, and even the humans felt their hearts stirred by its power. When the song ended, Torvash spoke clearly so all could hear. "I have found my honor again, High Commander. I will not surrender it to return to a life of empty duty." Council Leader Vexmore's image appeared larger than the others. "Enough! This cultural contamination ends now. All participants will be taken into custody for immediate rehabilitation." But Kyung-min stepped forward with his completed document. "By the ancient laws of the Galactic Accords, I present the Terra Protocols, a new framework for interspecies relations based on cultural respect and emotional authenticity." He began to read aloud, his voice carrying across the spaceport and out to every ship listening. "We hold these truths to be universal, that beauty is not a weakness, but a strength. That emotion is not inefficiency, but the source of all true progress. That art and culture are not distractions, but the very reasons for civilization to exist." The crowd listened in absolute silence as he continued. "We propose that true galactic unity comes, not from suppressing our differences, but from celebrating them. That strength comes not from emotional control, but from emotional honesty. That the greatest achievements of any species spring from their unique capacity for beauty, creativity, and joy." When he finished, beings across the galaxy were already implementing the protocols on their home worlds. The revolution had begun not with weapons but with words about the value of being truly alive. The Council tried to maintain order, but it was too late. Ship after ship was arriving at Earth, and more importantly, the spirit of what was happening at Earth was spreading to worlds across the galaxy. Valera took Hyunwoo's hand and stepped forward to address the Council. "You asked us to evaluate humanity for galactic membership," she said, her voice carrying to every listener. "Here is our report. They have reminded us who we used to be and shown us who we could become again. They have proven that a civilization can be both advanced and beautiful, both efficient and emotionally rich." She paused, looking around at the incredible gathering of beings from across the galaxy. "The humans didn't conquer us with weapons or tricks. They conquered us with appreciation, with kindness, with the simple recognition that beauty matters. And in doing so, they've shown us the path to a galaxy worth living in." The enforcement fleet found itself surrounded not by enemies, but by millions of beings who had chosen life over mere existence. The Council's authority crumbled as world after world declared their support for the Terra Protocols. Months later, the space station New Geneva orbited Earth, serving as the headquarters for a transformed galactic civilization. The old Galactic Council had been replaced by the Cultural Congress, where decisions were made not just by logic and efficiency but by wisdom, beauty, and the full range of conscious experience. Hyunwoo and Velira stood on the station's observation deck, watching the first interspecies cultural festival begin. Ships from hundreds of worlds brought their rediscovered arts, their renewed music, their reclaimed traditions. "Your beauty distracts us," Hyunwoo said, repeating the words that had started it all. Velira smiled, her skin glowing with happiness. "And your humanity saved us all." Below them, the galaxy celebrated not just peace but the beauty that made peace worth having. The revolution was complete, and it had been won not with force, but with the simple human conviction that life without beauty was not truly life at all. The aliens had come to evaluate humanity's fitness for galactic civilization. Instead, humanity had shown them what galactic civilization could truly become.